Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be joined by the creatives and talent behind season 3 of BMF. Well, I'm going to let you guys do what you do, and I will see you on the other side.
Hi, Michael Sowell. Thank you for having me. First of all, I just want to say welcome to the BMF universe as well. I just have a question in terms of that we're congratulating you guys on 3 seasons again for a show like this, and again, just talking about the story that it's telling. To have 3 seasons of this show, again, during this time right now, again, this really is a good achievement. I just want to ask for both of you, how do you guys feel having this opportunity again to once again tell a story that is not really well known or not being properly told about?
Well, from the outside looking in, I only know bits and pieces of the BMF story. So I didn't grow up in Atlanta, but when they hit Atlanta was when I started hearing about what was going on out there. I think I was in LA, around the '90s, and I was excited just to be a part of telling such an intricate and amazing story. These cats was doing it bigger than anybody before them, and they made history with the way that they did it. So just being a part of being able to tell that story was a plus for me.
Me too. I'm just thankful and grateful that this story is being told. I feel like it was needed for the culture, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy I earned the spot. And I'm able to come to set. Work with actors who've been acting their whole life, and we put together a real, truthful story. And everybody's portrayed in the manner that they want to be portrayed in. And yeah.
Hi, my question is for Neo. Rodney is an opportunist, and he sees that opportunity with Meech. And so I wanted to know, with the character of Rodney, how does he balance that opportunistic side with trying to create an actual genuine relationship? Or is that something that cannot happen?
I think that Greeny is the kind of cat that you can trust as far as you could throw him. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that he's business first and everything else second. With him it's about that dollar, and the people that can help him make that dollar, the people that can help him expand and grow. He sees something in Meeks that he likes. Young cat coming from Detroit into a whole new playing field by itself, trying to take over, like that's a bold move, you know what I'm saying? And cats that bold, they can be, they can be a staple in your success. So he sees that, he recognizes that, he respects that. But then as far as relationship, that could go either way with him, to be honest. He's the kind of cat to where you are as he's as loyal as you are useful. And I put it that way.
Thank you. This question is for Neo, and this is more of a playful question. So I saw the trailer, and I saw the hair, and I said, "Oh no, Neo is Rodney." I said, "What's going to be happening?" So, what's some of the excitement that you had about this role, and ultimately joining the BMF family?
Well, first and foremost, I've been a fan of the show since the first season. So when I got the call from 50 has actually played a major part in me just even being considered for it. Once they told me what they wanted me to do, they gave me the rundown of the character a little bit, and I was all for it. It's a role that I've never played before. I feel like it's a light people have never seen me in before. As far as the wardrobe and the hair, yeah, man, I was all for it. I have a whole new respect for women in their units. Much power to y'all, because that ain't easy. It ain't easy to pull that thing off. You gotta make sure that lace is laid. It's a thing. But I was for it because, again, I wanted people to not see Neo when they watch this. I want them to see Greeny. I want them to not look at the R&B cat trying to do some acting. Let's watch him crash and burn. I wanted it to be real and authentic and genuine. And I feel like the lace front actually helped with that. So again, I had a ball with it, man. I really did.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, this is for Meech. We've seen over the first 2 seasons of BMF just the business grow, the family bond grow, but here we get to see the expansion of the business. What are you looking forward to people seeing in this season to show just how intricate the operation was for BMF?
And I'm looking forward to people seeing how smart young Meech really was. You know, young Meech was so smart that not only did he change the dynamic in his hometown, but the first and second season, we seen young Meech and his brother and his whole crew, navigate their way through Detroit. But Meech finds out that Atlanta is going to be the new hub for expansion because Atlanta is the hub of the United States, with freeways going to all parts of the country. Atlanta is the best place for the business to grow. But Terry doesn't agree with Meech, so Terry stays in his hometown, and we have to watch Meech navigate through Atlanta, a whole different town, a whole different city with new people that he do not know, that do not trust him. So he has to use different tactics. He can't be the same Meech. He can't use, the same tactics that got him out of Detroit. He has to use different tactics because these people don't know him. So we get to watch a lot of different new things, nuances that we get to see the characters go through this season.
Hi, Nigeria Chambers from Big Gold Belt Media. What's up, Meech again, and what's up, Neo? Let's cut right to the chase here. Tell me about your most infamous time on Magic City Mondays. No, I'm just playing. We're not gonna go there. But no, seriously, with such a big presence. I dabbled down there a few times. Hey, but listen, with such a big presence in the strip club this season, and with that being such a big part of the culture in Atlanta, and Heather really talked about really wanting to bring that authentic feel to this set each and every night, even with the dancers and so on. For you two, diving into culture, knowing the culture, probably been down there in Magic City a few times. What were some of the factors and elements you thought was most important to display in these scenes?
So Greeny is a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's a pimp. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, the ladies and the girls and whatnot, the strippers, that they play a very intricate role in this man's bottom line. So pretty much whenever you see Greeny, you see him in the strip club, you see him with the dancers, and yeah, man, I can honestly say I'm very comfortable in Magic City. They've always been very, very kind to me, and so to walk on set and to walk into a soundstage and to see Magic City basically was amazing to me. The fact that they just basically rebuilt the whole place inside of a sound studio, and then of course, shout out to the extras. Shout out to the girls that was doing the dancing and whatnot. They played them roles to the highest level. And yeah, man, it was a it was a very comfortable experience. I'll keep it there. Yeah, very comfortable experience.
Derek Dunn, Reviews and Done. My question is for Demetrius. How did you build up the brotherly bond with Da Vinci's going back to season 1?
The first time I met Da Vinci, I let him know I used to watch him on All American. So it was like a learning experience for me. It was going to be my first time acting the first season ever in life. And I get to learn from him, so me and him, we studied our lines together. We went over our lines all the time, every day. We put together that bond. We hung out after set, and just built that brotherly bond so it would show up on camera how we wanted it to show up.
Yes, hi. I'm Nancy with Film Critique. Hi. And so I have two separate questions for Neo and Demetrius. With Demetrius, of course, this is in part your father's story. So I wanted to know, like, for you, what did you bring that was different from the history that you know and the history that's there? Like, how did you decide to do the character differently? And also with Neo, I'm not sure if this question has been asked yet before, but what are some surprises that you can give away that we can expect from your character in season 3?
I tried to do differently. When I was preparing for the role, I didn't want people to. Okay, so there's only documentaries that talk about my father and that talk about exactly how he was. and the real him, you know. So going into the TV show, I wanted to portray the real him, and I wanted people to see him in the light that he wanted to be portrayed in. You know, documentaries only talked about, you know, like a synopsis of him, but I wanted people to know the real him, how he talked, how he dealt with his family, you know, how he dealt with others, his peers, the streets, you know, decision making. You know, so that's where I spend most of my time at, you know, trying to figure out how I can portray that on screen so people can read that.
As far as secrets that I can give away, I am very much old school. We don't open Christmas gifts until Christmas. You know what I mean? So with that being said, it ain't no secrets I can give away. I can't give no secrets away and keep my integrity intact. So with that being said, I'll say this: it's going to be an exciting season. You definitely want to get your popcorn, and you definitely want to prepare for your jaw to hit the ground once or twice or 3 times throughout the season, because it's damn sure going to happen like that. Absolutely.
Nice. Thank you both.
One of the things that I really gravitate to this show is the fact that showing in terms of the mindset of Black people handling business, more importantly, standing on business. And I just want to know about both of your characters in terms of how do you, for me, obviously, you know, this is your 3rd season, but for you as well, Neo, just in terms of how do you kind of display that in terms of charisma in your roles, for exemplifying that type of behavior of how to stay on business and exemplifying, hey, I'm not a person to be dealt with, and then when it comes to money, I'm not playing no games.
So from what I learned about the real person, because the character is based on an actual dude, that's the epitome of who he was. You know what I'm saying? Again, he was business and finance first, friendship and relationship second. You know, so it's like he was trustworthy as long as he was making money with you, as long as what you was doing was servicing him or whatever the case may be, then he was loyal. If that ever became not the case, then maybe not so loyal. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of what it was back then to be in business. You know, again, he respects Meech, but at the same time, he is looking at this young cat from Detroit coming in on his territory. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm a rock with you because I see how bold you are. I see the ambition in you, but at the same time, I'm gonna give you this bombastic side eye because you are this new cat coming in trying to take over where I'm already, got my stake in the ground at. So yeah, that's kind of who Greeny is, and yeah, I pray that I did my job in portraying that on the screen.
As to me, and my father was a very charismatic, family oriented guy, and I definitely wanted that to be seen on screen. You know, I wanted people to know the real him and how much of a family person he really was and how he interacted with his people. And how differently he treated, you know, his family than his peers.
Yes, hi. Question is for Neo. You talked about Rodney's strengths and who he is as a person. But who are his vulnerabilities?
His vulnerabilities. Good question. I think in the time that I was, getting to know the character, I think his vulnerabilities lie in just his inability to see past business. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he might have, again, not to give anything away, but I feel like there were some relationships and some bonds that he could have built on if he was concerned with, if he was looking towards the future as opposed to just looking at the money right then in the moment. And I feel like that was his major vulnerability. His absolute Achilles heel was that he was so business only, to where it's like, all right, it's one thing to make money today, but we could be making money 20, 30 years from now if you would have approached it a different way. You know what I mean? He didn't have that ability, I don't feel like.
My question is kind of for both of you. I wanted to know, what can Henry and Blaze kind of learn from each other? They're so opposite, yet at the same time so similar.
I think one thing that Henry could learn is discernment, choosing battles. One thing about Henry loves to fight and will fight every single battle. Doesn't matter the stakes. Doesn't matter what's at risk. Henry wants to fight. And one thing about Blaze, and the reason I feel that maybe Blaze has been able to, be in the game as long as he has, living, this double life, is because he's been able to pick those battles and been able to discern when to, lend the power down or when to force down, and then when to fall back.
I think what Blaze and Henry can learn from each other is that respect is a necessity. Each individual has their own needs, their own objectives. How they go about getting those objectives is going to determine whether they're being respectful or not. And there's always a price to pay when respect is not present. That's what I think they can each learn from each other, because the love between the two of them is present, even though I think some people will probably misunderstand that. Because yes, we're talking about a world of this dynamic of blood versus business, high stakes, dark world. But Henry's my daughter. So of course I love her. And yet I also demand the loyalty, the respect. And I need to see that I can trust my daughter in this world of business and blood. I need to see that. And unfortunately, the reason we have conflicts is I don't see that.
Yes, I have this question for Ren. With Henry's introduction on this show, we see immediately she is someone not to be played with. What do you think about the writer's choice to introduce this character in such a vast way to show you like this is a serious threat to everyone involved?
Man, I mean, I can't even hold you. When I read the script the first time, I had to double take. I said, hold on. What? I had to double check to make sure I didn't miss a page. And I was like, oh, she did that. She did that. So I got to do it. Okay, cool. It really, I think that's exactly what she needed. She isn't Henry. I think that's exactly the kind of introduction that Henry needs. Henry's big and bold. She's going to walk through that door, making all kinds. You're going to hear her before you see her. Okay. Or you're going to feel her presence before you see her. You will know. You'll be like, something's in the air. Why just get a little chillier in here? Yeah. It works and it reads, and she translates that in every relationship that she touches throughout the show.
So season 3 is our introduction to both Blaze and Henry. So what I want to know from both of you is, where are they both at when we meet them at the start of the series? Because we're going to see a lot from them, but where are they at as far as their character and their lives when we're introduced? And I'll start with you, Brent.
Yes. So Henry at this point is, she's living it up. She's got money in the bank. She's got cool clothes, and she can get any baddie she wants, really, because she's got that confidence of like, hey, what's up? And they love it. She's kind of coming in hot, and she's taking names and kicking ass and all kinds of things like that. She really says, y'all gonna listen to me. It's my turn. Y'all have had this whole drug game this whole time. Y'all could be doing so much more with it. I have a vision. Let me do the vision. And so that's where she's at. She's at her elevator pitch stage,
Christopher?
For me, the very things that Ren mentioned about walking into a room and she's there, and meaning, Henry, that's exactly what drives me as Blaze crazy. Because to me, in this game, in this business, subtlety, nuance, consistency, all of that is what's powerful. I've been the kingpin of my organization, and I'm very, very successful because of the way I manage it. Now, here comes my daughter, understandably wanting to branch out on her own, but I need to see certain behaviors. I need to see certain results before I, allow that to continue to unfold. But I do end up in the beginning giving her an opportunity to branch out on her own and to see how she's going to handle things. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of problems begin. A lot of problems.
Yes, I want to know from both of you. The show is really about power, and looking at both of your characters are powerful figures. One is trying to become powerful while one is powerful. Can you talk about the psychology of both gaining that power and kind of unable to let it go in a way?
I agree. And to your point, Henry's working on getting that. I think Henry has a sense of power that she understands 100%. It makes total sense to her. It's what she's working on is getting that to translate to other people, for other people to see that she's already there, that she already has all that power. And she does, and people start to step back and are like, all right, I'm gonna give you yours because you up here and you doing it. But I think that in terms of um, mm, so forgive me, Dana. Can you circle back to the end part of your question?
Yes, I wanted to learn about the psychology of power and the fear of losing it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. The psychology of power and the fear of losing it. Yes, Henry has a fear of not belonging, of rejection through and through and through, and that drives her desire for power, because to her, having power is having a place. Whether that place is, lofty on a pedestal all by yourself, it's still a place where you belong. That's something that you understand, where people respect you. Respect what she wants to be called, respect how she's seen. This is a boys' club. This is a boys' game, And especially with her father, who's like, I don't know. This is not what I wanted for you as my daughter, as a woman. And, she doesn't really wear that herself quite exactly. So she's trying to translate her power when it comes to gender, sexuality, business to her father, and as well as the men in this game, as well as Terry and the BMF crew.
To me, power is a drug in and of itself. And Blaze has owned this power and continues to exercise it and has been doing so for years. The problem is, for Henry, it becomes an issue of competition. That's problematic. If you're talking about competition with your own dad in seeking power, now we have a serious conflict, because it's not about competition. It's about trust. As Blaze, I'm in a position of power. And here you are coming up the ladder, meaning Henry. And if Henry makes it about competition with me, now suddenly this is a whole different dynamic now. That's why there are problems. Because you talked about psychology of power. Well, if in one's head, if you're thinking, okay, this is my father, and instead of giving him proof that I'm able to handle the shoes of being a leader in this organization, instead of that, no, I'm going to show him that I'm better than anyone in this organization. What, including me? Someone who's been doing it effectively for years? What are you talking about? And open your damn ears and truly just be grateful that you have this teacher before you who's been doing it, and learn from it. But sometimes individuals can be hard-headed, and they want it their way. They want it one way. Henry, as far as I'm concerned, as Blaze, Henry wants it one way. Her way. That's not good. Meaning that's a problem.
For you. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It depends on whose perspective we're talking about here. Right.
Now, this is for Christopher. We get a little backstory of just how powerful Blaze is. We've not seen this type of character on BMF that is so well connected to both sides of the world here. What do you think this is going to lead for audiences to come to conclusion about just how big of a threat Blaze is to everyone, considering that from the police to the city council to the drug game, he's just fully connected into everything.
This is such a great, great dynamic that the writers have brought forth. The fact that Blaze is a former detective having worked in narcotics, and now I'm a kingpin in the drug game. So I know the ins and outs. I know the politics. I know the politicians. I know the pitfalls, the games. I know all the ways to just get around whatever I need to make sure that this world, this organization that I've created is always protected and always runs smoothly. And that's been the case consistently because of my previous experiences. So that makes Blaze an incredibly dangerous and formidable character to have all of that previous experience and then to go from that world of being a detective in narcotics into being a drug kingpin. I mean, just think about that transition. That's dangerous to have all of that knowledge. That's someone who's close to untouchable.
So my question is to both of you. Obviously, BMF is based on a real story, and everyone always wants to know with the new characters that are introduced, are you part of the creative process? And we're in season 3, so we're, off into a different venture, or are these characters based on someone in real life? And Ren, I'll start with you.
Word. So my character is based off of a few different people, and then has some fictionalized elements. It wasn't brought to my attention who these two individuals were, and I still have no idea who they are. So it really was a ground up perspective from just straight from the script, from, actors' instincts, from the hair, specifically the teeth really sealed the deal for me. It was once you put them in, it's over. I like that. That's really what for me shows Henry. Like Henry could have any kind of clothes, any kind of hair, whatever, but the teeth, that's kind of what sealed the character. So it is based off of true people. And some of it's fictionalized, and some of the aspects are just things that the production team brought to the table, the writers and myself.
Christopher?
I'm very much on the same page. I wasn't presented with particular specifics about Blaze being based on an exact character. So it was a combination of what the writers presented, my instincts as an actor, and the combination of the two. Because as Ren said, you in this world of BMF, you have the characters that are actually based on real life characters. Of course, that's the case with T and with Meech. But you also have this combination of fictionalized characters and maybe a hybrid going on with some of the other characters, based loosely off some truths and maybe some of it fictional. So you have so much going on. But in terms of what we were presented with, like I said, I wasn't presented with this knowledge that Blaze was written after the following specific character. I think there's a combination of a number of things going on with Blaze in terms of background.
Hi, Heather. I'm always excited to talk to you.
Great to see you.
Coming on, you've been at the show from the beginning. You've had some changes where you had to step into the role of showrunner. What has that transition been like for you? Still staying with Randy and working together with him, but stepping up into this role.
Yeah, so Randy and we met 9 years ago on Power. I actually came in season 2. He asked me to be his right hand then. And because of how Randy empowered me on set and in the writer's room, this was the natural handoff for me to step in for him. And I've always, being his right hand has really been the greatest honor of my career. This is so much more than just a TV show and a job. This is about taking Randy's legacy and vision across the finish line. And a God's timing thing, I knew what his vision was for season 3. So that's what you're getting to see us execute on.
Speaking of season 3, in this season, we get to see the brothers just expound upon their domain. We see it go from Detroit to Atlanta to even talks about different places. What do you think from a production standpoint? How much does this help you all just show just how vast this empire was at one point in time?
Yeah, no, I mean, and they grew. It started on the street corners, and now it's an epic tale of two cities that's continuing to expand. They had a 22-year run. So it's been great to be able to show Atlanta culture. We've built some beautiful new sets for Atlanta also, and just getting to see, pro sports, the streets, and hip hop start to collide has been really fun because we know the fans know that part of the story. But we're getting to tell the emotional journey of it all.
I'm fascinated by the kind of the celebrity casting that we have. You have 2 Chainz, we had Carisha from before, we have other people from this season, especially Neo. Can you talk about kind of finding those roles and making sure that it was perfect for them?
Yes, no, and I mean, we're very lucky. We have 50 Cent, and there is no shortage of people that want to do this show, right? So that's been really exciting. 2 Chainz and Big Meech actually are close friends. So that was a very meaningful piece of casting, getting to hear the old stories. Also, me and Chainz found out we're both Virgos, born 2 days apart. So that was really fun too. And I think having new faces, you're getting to see Chainz in a way you haven't seen him before. The same with Neo, the same with Sweetie, and with Cynthia Bailey too. So it's great to have new energy on set and also get to see what they bring with their life experience, because we all bring those things to what we're doing.
So you spoke of the story spanning 22 years. How do you decide to pick in spots where you're going to highlight and what part of the story you want to pause and expound on and where you want to move it ahead a little bit into the future?
Yeah, this season being in the early 90s is not a period of time that a lot of people know the story of. So that's what we're excited about. We feel like this is this kind of little hidden gem that a lot of people haven't seen. Everyone knows where the story goes, right? With BMF Entertainment, and the White House and things like that. But these are really the steps to getting there, to the stuff that everyone knows. So I just think there's a lot of exciting things that we're going to revealing. And of course, loosely based on, I think, the boys' personalities, Meech and T's personalities are very authentic. But we have to take creative license because we want to give you guys the shizzle moments and all the cliffhangers to get you to watch the next episode too.
Now, as you brought up before about the emotional weight that's also shown in this show, we get to see a family dynamic that's not shown in this genre too often. And we
Yeah.
get to see it portrayed in a very realistic format. What do you think the audience can gather and take away from you showing not only the ups of how their family works, but also the downs and how it affects everyone around them?
Yeah, the family, and thank you for bringing up the family because this show's marketed as a crime and family drama. The heart and soul of this is the family, period. The blood family, the street family, and family is such a universal, complex thing, right? You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, right? And I think people really, just on a soul level, we're really relate to the family dynamics and also the faith piece. As someone who worked on the original Power, when Randy asked me to do the show and sent me the scripts, I went, this is so different. The family is what makes it special. And that the family components, I believe, are what led to Meech and T having a 22-year run, because it was a family.
Yes, I'm fascinated by what we have is the balance of going with family again, but also power. What I wanted to know for season 3 is the importance of showing the highs and the lows of that, which we didn't see in both season 1 and 2.
Yeah, no. And I mean, to have a 22-year run, you have to have losses. And that's the thing that we like to dramatize too. Meech, Big Meech, even when you were down, you always showed out still. He didn't want people to know You might be down, but you're not out, you know? You still showed up in the club with the watch and the chains, you know? So that's a good thing for us to dramatize too, is the wins along with the losses. And our losses, again, that's universal. Our losses inform character growth. And I'm just talking about us as people, not as characters on the shows. We learn so much when we lose, right? And how we pick ourselves up when we lose, those are defining moments in our lives. And I think that's another thing that the audience resonates with.
So, in speaking of family, one of the things that we get to see highlighted is the growth of love, the loss of it, the impacts that this lifestyle has had on their relationships and so forth. So, can you talk about, in telling their stories, how you balance out the elements of their growing, empire, so to speak, as well as their love life? Because there is a balance, but how do you pick and choose how much you want to show in either one?
I think we're always striving for the really character-driven moments, even in the drug story, right? What are those moments of brotherhood or loyalty that inform character? And again, like, I think it just always depends. It's kind of like, all right, this is a big story. Like this, our turning point, episode 405, is a big episode. Okay. And sometimes different stories require more story beats, especially for a turning point. You're really going to see Nicole really step into her own this season too. That's something that's really exciting to us, that we spent more real estate on than we have in the past, and Layla Pruitt does a fantastic job in that role and her performance.
Now, from the first two seasons, we saw the love that you showed to the city of Detroit. Now, with Atlanta being in the forefront here, we get to see the exact same thing. How does it feel from a production standpoint to highlight these things, the rap shows, the rap concerts, things of this nature that a lot of people may not know anything about, down to the Red Dogs, which was a great pull for the history of Atlanta and just to showcase that to the world?
Yeah, no, I think Atlanta getting to be its own character, and something that we've been able to do in Atlanta is the historical montages, which is something that Randy did in Detroit seasons 1 and 2, which I think makes the show very unique and sets things apart. There's always a lesson in those historical montages so we can understand more of what's going on in this country, But yeah, we built sets too. We have a lot of new sets that we got to use to highlight even some of the Atlanta culture, and including our own strip club, Platinum Palace. So that was very special. We opened that set up. It ended up on International Women's Day, was our first day of filming there. And so I had my heels on too. I was not on the pole, but I had my heels on in solidarity.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. So you were brought in as the interim showrunner for this, and I wanted to know, with your experience, how was it kind of wrangling everything and coming in as interim?
I've had such a warm welcome. I've known Randy for 9 years. We met on the original Power. That's when I met 50. And Randy truly empowered me season 2 in the writer's room and on set. So when he had his health complication, 50 asked me to step in, and I knew what Randy's vision was, and Randy and I are still very close, and I see him and talk to him all the time. So it's been such a warm welcome, and we're all doing this for Randy too, so we just have tremendous purpose as a team.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Thank you so much.
I was wondering, with the goal of BMF just as a whole, we have these different stories, and this is based on a true story. Do you feel that it is a responsibility or at all to kind of educate people? Because you do both the culture and also these lives of who these people are.
Yeah. So, okay, we do loosely based, but again, we work really hard to keep, I think, Meech and T's personalities authentic. I've learned so much getting to sit back and listen to others, and just getting, like, we're very proud of our Techwood storyline because it's just not a place where there's drugs. These were people's homes and they were displaced from them. There were so many good people living there, you know. So we really in 401, I think it is just even showing the beauty, like with the chalk drawing, you know, these were good, honest people, and there happened to be people using drugs there and selling drugs. So getting to infuse that into the storyline, and just learning more about the Red Dogs and the Olympics too has been very interesting, you know, and getting to tell those stories.
Michael Sola from Team JBS and also Jedi Mike 7. Thank you for having me. I wanted to ask a question just about the overall concept of this show in general. Issa Rae made a comment, the fact that these stories are basically being canceled by other networks and stuff, and the fact that you have getting to the point of season 3. What you can say, just talk about you being a part of a series that's continuing on, and actually having, again, a good impact as it is being widely received.
No, thank you. You know, I've been in the business 24 years. Anytime you get to open a season 3 folder on your laptop of any series, that's a big deal. And Randy Huggins had a true vision and something that has legs and that's just growing and growing. It is like capturing lightning in a bottle to get a show on the air, let alone a hit show. I've had the opportunity, I think, to be on 3 shows in my 24 years that haven't been canceled. If that gives you a little context, right? You're like, this is going to be the greatest show. And then 3 episodes later, thanks for everything, right? So this show is special. BMF was special because of the people. And this show is special because of the people too. From Randy to Lil Meech getting to play his father, you know, Russell Hornsby. And our energy on set's very different. We know we have something special, you know, and it's great because people will come to our set and go, this feels different. You guys do feel like a family. And that's what we strive for. So we're always coming from a place of gratitude, a place of collaboration, and just wanting to tell the best story possible. We don't bring egos into our job. We just don't.
Coming back with another question for the two of you two. We talked a little bit about earlier about your relationships with your character counterparts in real life, the Nicoles and Miss Lucille. Now that you all have really put in the work now in their characters, bringing their characters to life, also grown that relationship in person. I'm wondering how much creative freedoms and liberties have you now been able to take with these characters to move the story, the series forward?
I mean, for myself, like, you know, a lot of times I might like pick up the phone and call Miss Lucille and say, you know, hey, what do you think about this or whatever. But at this point in the game, a lot of times I feel like I have a pretty good hold on who she is. And so I just I trust my gut and my instincts, like particularly with last season with, you know, what Charles was doing. He was just a hot mess with all this stuff with my best friend. So I was responding, you know, deeply, you know, as I feel like most women would, you know, but I was responding really from my gut because I was mad as hell about it myself. So, you know, some things I felt like, I think I got this right now. And the most rewarding thing is, you know, when she calls and she's like, you know, I wish you would hit that girl with that pen, you know, or moments like that, you know, and that makes me feel like, you know what, I'm on the right track here. And I just love her.
Yeah. How about you, Layla?
I think that for me, I think we all try to keep because we're playing real people and people who are still alive and with us, we try to keep as close to their truth and their authenticity as we can. But here at Howard in acting class, we learn about your own stank as an actor, which my acting teacher Nicole Salter tells us about a lot. You can add your own little stank after you've done all the preparation and the work required to understand your character. You can add your little stank in there. And so, understanding that, I sort of try to play a balance between, having the authenticity of the character, but then saying, okay, what would make sense for the story as well. And for, putting the story along and making it as entertaining and as fulfilling for the audience as I can.
Awesome.
And
Thank
then
you so
just
much.
piggybacking on that, it still is, what is really the truth of this scene, and really being honest in the moment with what would come up and how you might express that,
Great to speak with you both today. So we know this season, Nicole takes a bigger front and center as far as storyline. So Layla, what was that like for you walking through that experience? And Nicole playing Miss Lucille and seeing some of the things that we're going to see Nicole take on this season. How was that experience like as both an actress and knowing the real counterparts?
I just want to make sure I understand the question. What was it like for me seeing Nicole?
Yeah, as Miss Lucille, seeing Nicole go through some things this season.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
For me, it was I always love when my characters, their whole arc and their whole, growth as who they are, is being recognized. And so I was really excited when I saw Nicole, begin to take steps of her own and begin to individualize herself a little bit. I think being able to watch her grow up, the fans and our audiences has been one of the best parts about playing her and being able to bring her story to life. And so I just try to, again, stay as close to the authenticity of, when I talk to the real Nicole, whatever she says is what I try to go with, as well as the authenticity of the scene and the story. So it's been awesome to see Nicole grow up before my eyes as well.
For me as Lucille, watching Nicole, I think sometimes it's challenging watching her grow up, because I think the reality is that she's had to grow up so fast, in the situation that she's in. So she, moves fast and she gets a little sassy and stuff sometimes. And I'm always trying to put her in check and keep her in her place. It's hard to, let go sometimes and, allow her to be this thing, or, she want to look at boys and she's being fast and stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want her to grow up and be like me or do the things, so young the way that I did them. I want her to have a better life than me. So sometimes it's hard. I just want to pull in the reins. And then at the same time, still having some compassion for her, because really she's like my anchor in a lot of ways, and she's my support. She's the other female here that really gets it and understands me on a deeper level. And one other thing I just wanted to say, as Nicole watching Layla, so it's been really interesting because we were just talking about, she started the show when she was 16, and I think you were still being homeschooled on set and stuff, and and now she's in college at Howard University, and it's like, what the heck? So like seeing her from the beginning and all that we went through with the pilot and the first season and the scariness of everybody's trying to still keep their job and all these things and be present and trying to do the best you can and stuff like that, where you have that like kind of scary, kind of green feeling about it. And then to see her in season 2, like, get into her comfort zone, and now seeing her just like grow into this woman, like she turned 18 on the set, and here we are, and and she, it's just amazing to watch her step into her womanhood, and she's such an old soul and just brilliant, and I feel like a mom in so many different ways. And it's just beautiful to be a part of all of it and watch her in this way. So proud of her.
Thank you.
Yes, my last quick question is, this relationship between Nicole and Lucille has been one of the few untapped relationships we've seen in the first 2 seasons of BMF. What does it feel like to finally seem like we're going to get you two's relationship on the forefront, down to the mother-daughter conversation, down to even the little looks that we see between mother and daughter at certain times early on in this season?
I think that I'm really excited for fans to be able to see that. I think especially Black mother-daughter relationships, but I think mother and daughter relationships in general are so sparsely seen on screen, on television. And so to be able to see us, exchange looks that only, Black mothers and daughters can exchange, and, have those experiences, those misunderstandings, those discussions you'll see throughout this season is really important, you know, for the mothers and the daughters out there to watch and see themselves and say, okay, well, I'm not alone. At least somebody else understands, you know, this, or I'm seen, you know, in going through these experiences. It's extremely important.
Yeah, I'm like super excited about, you know, us becoming closer, because I think that sometimes maybe people think that you know, Lucille is not as close to Nicole, but I think, you know, she's been hard on Nicole, harder on her than the boys. But I think, you know, there may be this like inside understanding or expectation because she is a female as well. You know, it's like the boys, they get let go, but you kind of hold, you know, onto your girls a little bit tighter, you know. But I think the reality is, like in real life, is that really Nicole is really the anchor. She takes care of Miss Lucille in so many ways, and she sees everything and sees the whole picture on a whole nother level. And so she's really carrying her, I think, in a lot of ways. And I would love for, you know, this new season that we're about to start shooting, you know, that we can really see more of that she is that anchor and really support for her, and Miss Lucille's real gratitude for all of that.
Michael Solo from Africa. I just wanted to say thank you guys for having us here. My wife and I are big fans of character Kelly, and I just want to know, speaking for her, when we're getting a spinoff series, because Detective Jen.
Yes, please.
I mean, seriously, we've been praying for it every season, and every time it's been renewed, we've been asking for it, because again, not your character in terms of a mental perspective, again, because I have family in police department as well, and the way I feel like you've been conveying that, you know, through multiple seasons has been great. So can you kind of just address in terms of like the journey that you've been taking, just again being in this role as in the police department, but also just to put a little bit of yourself in that role as well?
Well, from your lips to God's ears, man. I would love to do a spin-off series. But yeah, you know, I mean, being a cop in Detroit in the 80s is such an interesting time. I mean, it was a time when Detroit was the murder capital of the world, right? And also there was so much racism and you know, tough stuff to work against. I mean, it was really the police department was dominated by white men. So being a woman of color coming into this department, having to prove herself, you had to be tougher than everybody else. You know, it was a very, very difficult time. And, you know, thank goodness this show is so well written, and they are so open to diversity. I mean, it's been such a pleasure to be able to bring Jin to life, not just, you know, being a cop, but also having all of this interesting backstory that, you know, layers who she is, and not just, you know, her being tough and shooting it up. It's really been a fun journey.
This is Lucas Moore with Team JVS via Africa. I have a question to ask both of you two about this show placing in this time period two female cops together. As Kelly said, this is a very male-dominated industry at this point in time. We even see a confrontation early on that you all have with another male detective. Just what it's like in this time period to have Detective Emerson and just be your new partner, and how does that dynamic work?
You want to take this?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think at the end of the day, she's fighting, coming in, she's fighting for her position. She's trying to get, you know, Detective Jen to see her for what she's really worth and who she really is outside of the wealth and the prestige that she comes from. So it's not even just, you know, I'm fighting as a woman, but I'm also fighting to get this woman to understand me and where I'm coming from, and that we both have the same goal at the end of the day. So when she's able to do that, that's when I think we see the two flourish, and we see this bond and this sisterhood that they're able to tap into. And it's just a beautiful thing. It was beautiful for me to experience as an actor and to play this along with Kelly, who is absolutely amazing. And and then it's going to be amazing for the viewers as well. I mean, these two are powerful and dynamic, and I'm glad that we're being seen like that coming across the screen.
And for me, I think that it's hard enough being a woman on the force and then getting partnered up with another woman. I think the way for us to really excel and be able to get beyond this stereotype is for us to really bond together and become more powerful as sisters, like a sisterhood. So I think that having us sort of testing her to see if she's sort of worthy of being there, and then when she proves herself, for us to sort of come together just makes us even that much more powerful.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, can you tell me a bit about the kind of research that you did going into your characters? You spoke before, Kelly, about your character having so many layers. So I wanted to know if you could both talk about like what research you did, and being that a lot of this is based on a true story. So go into that some.
So for me, I mean, I didn't know anything about BMF really until, I got to do the research. So it was all new to me. Doing the research about the city, but also doing the research about being an Asian person coming into this city and what was going on at the time, all the racism towards Asians, and Chinatown being relocated, and having Asians sort of dispersed and not having a place in the city anymore. I mean, there was a lot going on in the history of just Detroit alone. Much less, of course, BMF, which is historical unto itself. But I think I found out later on that there was actually an Asian woman who was on the force back in the 80s and 90s, who in Detroit, who had a reputation of being just super tough, and I can only imagine had to be tougher than everyone else to prove herself. So I thought, if she can do it in real life, then I have to be able to honor her as an actor.
Nice, thank you. Morgan?
Yes, and for me, I knew a little bit about it. I saw the documentary before the show came out, and so I was just super engaged and on the edge of my seat watching the documentary. And then to be able to see the show first and second season, it was just dynamic and powerful. When I auditioned for the character, I was actually a little intimidated by playing a detective. It's just always kind of been a little thing. I kind of, the jargon, the fabric of the character and such. So I've always been a little intimidated by that. But when I booked the role, I was just like, I am so excited to be a part of a show that is so legendary, that's so steeped in this history and this culture and this time frame. And so to be able to play in that, and then to dive into my character, which is also, she's extremely layered. A lot of people see her from the top and she's just wealthy and she's prestigious and privileged, and they think she doesn't deserve to be in the position that she's in. So she does a lot of like fighting and proving herself in this position. And how did I relate to that? And how was I able to connect to that? And so I tapped into those things that were extremely relatable for me. And found a way to dive myself into her character and understand her fabric and why she's so passionate and what she's fighting for and what she needs out of Jen, in this show. So because that relationship is such a strong, it becomes a strong bond and something she needs, I think.
Yes. Dana, I have a question to ask as well. What I wanted to know is there is a line that is said that's basically that it's more interesting to color outside of the lines. And so what I want to know is, will either of the characters kind of take that to heart in season 3?
I think that Jin has to sort of color outside the lines at this point. She's already gone out there, and I think she's sort of outside the line as the season starts and trying to work her way back in. Because she, she's been demoted, and she's, she really wants to be a detective and be able to go after BMF. That is her goal, is to take them down and save this city. And so, yeah, definitely, coloring outside the lines to start with.
Yeah, I think they're aligned in that way. She's willing to do, what she feels like needs to be done in order to clean the crime up, clean the streets up, and really go after BMF along with her partner. Does she want to do it? I don't think so. But I think, as her bond and relationship grows with Detective Jen, she trusts her enough to lead the way and for her to do whatever she feels like she needs to do, with her partner. She's down for sure.
For both of you, Issa Rae made a comment talking about the cancellations of a lot of shows depicting, people of color and telling our stories. As mostly as your positions as actresses, like how you can talk about in terms of making sure that one, that you're choosing a story that you feel like needs to be told, but also that you're a part of an ongoing, successful show. Again, this is season 3, which most shows can even say that they have reached that point.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to really, really being meticulous about, the roles that you take on and what you allow yourself to be a part of. Speaking of BMF, this is such a powerful story. It's steeped in so much history. It's legendary in a sense. So that's a beautiful thing that we are able to be a part of this show and be African American and of Asian descent, and we're able to show these women in a powerful way, but also show that they're flawed and that they're going through the same things that you may be going through, and they need love and they need relationship and they need bonds that they're able to build together. So I think it's just showing the full range of a woman of color, which I think is so powerful because we don't always get to see that. We're just strong in most cases, but in this case, we get to see all these layers being unfolded with these two characters.
And I think being an Asian actor at this time is very unique. I mean, when I first started in this business 37 years ago, there were not a lot of Asian roles. You just did whatever you could get. And sometimes they were not, sometimes they were, most of the time, I should say, they were stereotypical roles, which probably did not help us as a society, as a ethnic group. But now with so many more Asian people, or even non-Asian people, I should say, who are trying to create more diversity, who are writing more roles and series and films with more substance for us. I mean, there's only so much that we can do as actors. We're really at the mercy of the writers and the producers and directors and people who cast us in these roles. Recently we had this strike, and I was doing some research, and I found that out of 160,000 members of the Screen Actors Guild, only 4% make a living wage. So we are still very much at the mercy of people who are willing to cast us in these roles. So yes, I would like to say that I can pick and choose and be very specific about what I do. But, unfortunately, we are still, picking between very few roles. It's getting far, far better now, especially as an Asian actor, with so many award-winning shows and Asians coming up nowadays. So I see it much brighter than it was 37 years ago, for sure.
I think
Thank you.
now we have the ability to, a little bit, like you said, Kelly, take that power into our own hands, and in a way to say that, you know, this is how I would like, you know, not for myself specifically, but this is how I would like, you know, for example, African American women to be represented. I'd like to play roles that go in this, and I'm going to take roles that are representative of that. And if they're not, then maybe I might sit out and not take that. We've seen, you know, other groups do that. And so we have the ability to do the same thing. I think it's not as great as, like you said before, but it's becoming greater now.
For your character, when we first get introduced to your character, we understand that her name carries a lot of weight, but also makes people think that she got a foot up on everyone else. Will this be explored? Will we get the full backstory of your character this season to fully understand exactly how hard she's worked and the things she's giving up to be in this position?
Absolutely. To a certain degree, I think you will. As we progress through the season, a little bit at a time, you'll be able to understand a little bit more about Amberson. In the beginning, I think she's just more like trying to prove herself, you know? And it's like, listen, I'm more than the wealth and the name and the prestige that I come from. And I really, you know, I want to do the same thing that you want to do. We're here trying to complete the same goal. But as she becomes, you know, closer and closer to Detective Jen, she starts to open up herself a little bit more and realize that she can, you know, be a little bit more honest. And then that brings out a little bit more of her background. I think the viewers will be able to see her in a different light and sympathize with her, because she's really just like the next person. You know, she can't control, you know, what she comes from. So, in that way, you see their bond grow and them just gain this sistership. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. There's a lot of other things coming with it. I just don't want to like disclose all those things, but
it's so hard.
That's the on surface answer. I'm sorry.
Perfectly fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we appreciate your time, we love the show, and we hope you enjoy this episode of Africa Roundtables.